Hey everyone, in today's video I thought I would go over 3 common mistakes that I see owners make over and over again that can be really detrimental in teaching our dogs to come to us when we call them effectively. Mistake number 1, only calling your dog when you actually need them. This is a very common mistake that a lot of owners make. And to give you an example of what I mean by this, let's say that you take your dog out to a park, or maybe you're out hiking with your dog. The dog's having a great time off leash, smelling around, and then at some point you call your dog to you, and then you leash them. When you call your dog to you and you leash them, you just ended all the fun that the dog was having. So from the dog's perspective, being called to you ended all of that fun. So in the future, you calling them is going to predict that the fun is going to stop. Another example would be maybe you let your dog out in the morning into your yard, you're getting ready for work, you call your dog inside the house, and then you leave. In this example, you calling the dog starts to be the predictor that you're going to leave them alone. So it's really important in our early stages of training the recall that the majority of the time when we call our dogs, they come to us, something good happens, and then they get to go back to doing whatever they were doing beforehand. All right, so if I call Sonny, come. If I call Sonny over here, I could feed him. Good. Okay. And then let him go back to doing whatever he was doing beforehand. All right, so your dog should think that coming to you is going to be something really fun, and that the majority of the time they get to go back to smelling, playing, whatever they were going to do. All right, so that's mistake number 1 that you want to avoid. Mistake number 2, not providing enough reinforcement when you are training your dog to come to you when you call them. So this is another common mistake that I see. I think it comes from our dogs being really social animals, and generally if you're in the home, you can call your dog to you. Your dog happily comes over. Maybe even if you're in your backyard, you can call your dog comes over and says hello to you. But then when you're in an environment in which is really distracting to the dog, say on a hiking trail or at a dog park, you call your dog and the dog just blows you off. And we often think, well, the dog's just being stubborn. When in fact, you haven't trained the dog that coming to you when you call them is going to be worth it for them. So when you're in environments in which you have to compete against a lot of other stimuli, then you really need to make it clear to your dog that it's going to be worth coming to you. So if I'm inside the house, maybe if I'm going to be teaching a behavior with Sonny here, maybe I may be using kibble. Now if I'm out here in a training yard and there's a lot of other dogs around and I want to work on him coming to me when I call him, then I'm going to be using something like cheese or deli meat or possibly a game of tug in the training process. So that's another mistake that you want to avoid, is not providing a high enough reinforcement object or food source while you're training your dog to come to you. Mistake number 3, yelling at your dog after a game of keep away. So a classic example would be your dog escapes out the front door and they begin running through the neighborhood. Well, you start chasing your dog, you're getting frustrated, you're getting angry, you're also getting worried if there's traffic zipping by. You finally catch the dog and then you unleash all that frustration onto the dog. So maybe you grab your dog and you yell at them, you need to start coming when I call you, something along those lines. Well, from the dog's perspective, it just got worse. So they were having a great time exploring the neighborhood. You finally caught them and then you yell at them. Right? Now, I know it's difficult not to be upset when your dog is playing keep away from you. It's extremely frustrating. But if once you catch your dog, you yell at them, then the dog is more likely to play keep away from you the next time. So if your dog does escape out the front door and they are running through the neighborhood and you haven't been working on teaching your dog to come to you when you call them, then when you do catch them, the best thing to do is to leash them up and take them for a 3 to 5 minute walk and then bring them back into the house. This way the dog starts to associate you catching them with continuing the fun event of exploring the neighborhood. So I know that's really difficult to do, but if you can just remember that when you do catch them, that if you start to yell at the dog, then it's really going to have a negative impact on your future training. All right guys, that's 3 mistakes that you want to avoid when you're training your dog to come to you. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in another video.